Hey everyone, it's Julie, and this is going to be a first in what I would call like an informal limited series in which I am dipping my toes back into Greek mythology using the Hellenic Oracle by Thea over at Garden Goddess Tarot. I will leave a link to the NPC shop where you can find the deck if you are interested. So yeah, I have said since last year that one of my intentions for 2023 is that I want to get back into Greek mythology and reacquaint myself with a lot of the figures and the stories. Greek mythology is something that I have loved ever since I was younger, but over the years, my older brain has not retained much information. I've forgotten a lot of the stories, and yeah, I just want to get reacquainted and also maybe learn about some new stories and new figures. So I thought that the Hellenic Oracle would be a great supplement to that. I am planning on just kind of covering the cards that depict the figures that are of most interest to me. So I certainly will not be going through the entire Hellenic Oracle. I mean, look at this thing. I am not a glutton for punishment. This deck doesn't F around. It's like 100 cards, and this is the revised edition that doesn't include the Heroes and Monsters expansion pack. I am interested in getting that at some point, but let us not put cart before the horse. Let's first focus on this right here. This is going to take me some time. so yeah, I think I'm just going to keep these videos coming when I feel like it, and because this study is going to take a good part of the year or until whenever I get tired of doing it. And so that's how I will then kind of format the series, just whenever I want to talk about some Greek mythological figures. So the first figure that I wanted to reacquaint myself with was an intentional choice, and that is Circe. And the reason I chose her is because I just recently finished at the beginning of the year this book right here. I don't think I can get it all in frame, but this is also by the name Circe, author Madeline Miller. I quite enjoyed this, and I know that she has two other books that retell Greek, certain Greek myths. I think one is Achilles and the other one, I'm not sure. So do let me know in the comments below if you think those two are worth reading, because I am interested, unless you tell me they suck. But I really did enjoy this and just the kind of reimagining of this Greek figure, which I don't feel like we hear a lot about. And just to backtrack a little here, some of the books that I will be using just in general for this Greek study, Greek myth study, the one is, I took the dust jacket off, but this is Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes by Edith Hamilton. This is a pretty well-known and popular book. And then also this one, which is popular here in the United States. I'm not sure about other countries, but D'Alaire's Book of Greek Myths. And this is geared towards younger readers, but this just takes me back. Just all the different drawings and such. I just really remember enjoying this book. So I think this is going to be a good time too. And then finally, I have also been reading Stephen Fry's Mythos. So this has been a lot of fun as well. I do enjoy his writing style and his humor and contemporary kind of narration of the stories. Anyway, back to Circe. So she is the goddess of pharmakeia, or sorcery or witchcraft, and she is the daughter of Helios, the sun god, and Perseus, an ocean nymph. I think she also goes by Perse. Sorry, I don't do Greek. I don't speak Greek, so I'm sure I'm going to be butchering the pronunciation numerous times. But she is, I would say, most well known for the story where she turns Odysseus's men into swine. So Odysseus and his soldier men are returning from the Trojan War, and it's been just a struggle. It's taken years for them to try to get back home to Ithaca. They've just met a lot of obstacles along the way. So essentially, what happens is that eventually Odysseus and his men come upon the island of Aea, which is where Circe resides. And they are welcomed into her home. She, provides them hospitality. And, depending on the version of the story, we don't know what exactly they did to insult her, if they did anything. But she does put a potion in their wine and causes them to turn into swine when she casts her curse. So she is definitely what I would consider, like, whenever I think of Circe, I think like herbal witch. She deals in herbs, she deals in potions and those types of concoctions. So Odysseus isn't there at the time with his men, but he does catch wind of what has happened. And with the help of Hermes, the messenger god, Hermes instructs him on how he can kind of overcome Circe with the help of an herb that I feel like here Hermes gives him the herb that is meant to protect him and make him immune against, the drug in the wine and her powers. So he takes this herb, he goes and visits Circe, and she, of course, gives him the laced wine, and then she is about to cast her spell on him. She is often depicted with a wand, and nothing happens, and she is just so, I guess, impressed by the fact that he is able to resist or not succumb to her powers, that she falls for him. They go have some sex, and then she agrees to return his men back into their human form from swine, and they continue to enjoy and receive her hospitality for a year on the island before they decide to leave. So this image here from the Hellenic Oracle, this is from John William Waterhouse, and he is one of my favorite painters. And I am not an expert on art history. I am not an expert on high art, but I love almost everything that this guy has done. And so I think this was a fantastic choice for Circe. So this is called Circe offering the cup to Ulysses, which is Odysseus's other name. So it's a fantastic image. You see the swine here, you see Odysseus here in the background, and yeah, she's just. But even without that context, if you're not. If you don't know the name of this painting, which the Hellenic Oracle, some of the images are not taken from paintings that are specifically about that myth or figure. They're just more visual representations. But this is actually Circe, meant to be Circe. But without even, without even that, just her sitting here like this, just standing or sitting, just being in her power. She is just a force to be reckoned with. And it's just such a fantastic image, which is one of the kind of personal associations that I do get when I see this card. Some other associations that come up for me, I mean, there are several. And I think that when I am ready and wanting to use this deck as an oracle deck, I will likely be pairing it with another tarot or maybe even another oracle. And of course, I will be looking to those previous cards that I pull to then inform the context of which interpretation that I would want to go with when I see this card in particular. But there are several, like I said, when I think of her, I think of, herbal witch. I think herbs, I think potions, I think that type of like medicinal or poisonous, type of connotation. We can also go by, what she's kind of known for. She is the goddess of sorcery, right? Pharmakeia. She's also known for transmutation and illusion, and I think I read necromancy. So those could also apply. When I think of the novel that I read, which provides a more sympathetic and complex look at Circe, I think of I do think of enchantment, and I do think of revenge, but I also think of remorse and compassion and resilience. There are other stories when it comes to Circe. The other one that's pretty popular is the one with Glaucus and Scylla. Glaucus is a fisherman who is transformed into like an ocean god, and I'll skip the details of how, but he's transformed into a sea god, and Glaucus catches sight of Scylla, who is I think she's like a water nymph. She's a nymph, and she's bathing in this these waterfalls, and he catches sight of her and he falls in love with her, but she is not having it and she flees from him. So Glaucus goes to Circe and entreats her for her help to win Scylla. And Circe is really taken with his impassioned plea and ends up falling in love with him and tries to seduce him and all that. And he's not having it. He wants only Scylla. And Circe, in her jealous rage against Scylla, she concocts a potion, which she then pours into the water that Scylla bathes in. So the next time she visits that waterfall or lake or whatever, and she bathes, she turns into this monster who becomes pretty notorious to everyone and all the sailors who have to travel by sea and go her way because she's just so destructive. With that story, we can think about jealousy and unrequited love. But then there's another story that concerns Jason and Medea, and I think of that one, and I think in some ways she represents atonement and asylum. So really, again, this is all just to say this could be read so many different ways. She can be read so many different ways in the context of this particular story. Oh my goodness. I mean, this could be a cautionary tale against complete debauchery and acting like dicks when somebody is hosting you and not showing respect. Like, it could be so many different things. So I think that's what's great about a deck like this, where there's a plethora of information out there. Just gotta go online, Google, read some books, and you can derive your own meaning. So the next figure that I found really interesting to learn about or relearn is Leto, and she was a random pull from the deck. Leto, I don't know, someone can correct me on the appropriate Greek pronunciation. So Leto is a goddess. She is a Titan, and she is known as the goddess of motherhood, and most known for being the mother of twins Apollo, who is the god of the sun, and Artemis, who is the goddess of the hunt. Yeah, so she gets impregnated by Zeus, per usual. Zeus cannot keep it in his pants, and so here's another victim. And Hera is mad with jealousy and pursues Leto to prevent the births of these twins, and who knows what else she plans to do to Leto. And so Leto flees, and she eventually, after running around, she finds an island called Delos where she gives birth to Artemis and Apollo. And this is like a mortal island. She eventually flees to this place called Lycia, and that is a story that's, that's the story that we see here in this image. This is another painting that is specifically intended to portray Leto. This is called, what is this called? Latona, which is her other name, and the peasants. So basically what happens is, I've seen other paintings with, this kind of, for this similar story, but what happens is that Leto comes to Lycia. You can see here, she's exhausted. She's just looking for some rest and respite. She comes upon this lake here where there are men. We see one of them here, but there are men who are, cutting up the surrounding like vegetation or weeds or something. In other renditions of this story, they are, like farmers, villagers who've brought their cattle to drink there. Anyway, they will not let Leto drink from the water, from the lake. They just are not having it. And, she is known to be gentle and kind, as the goddess of motherhood. Her characteristics are that she is kind, and she is one of noble modesty. And so, she's trying to reason with these dudes that, hey, I just want to drink. I'm entitled to have a drink from a lake, this lake. But they refuse to let her, and they even go so far as to stir up the mud from the bottom so that it like dirties the water, and she's like not able to drink from it, which then that just crosses the line, and pisses her off, and she curses them by transforming them into frogs. So when I see this particular image, my personal associations, just looking at her and how fatigued she is, but that, she is continuing to carry her children and look after her children. To me, it speaks of kind of like the duties and the labor of, motherhood or just guardianship of looking after someone or, something, and the devotion of that. And the labor, the labor that does come with that, as well as the love. And then also, just the misogyny. These men are just complete assholes to her for no reason at all. And they don't give her the respect that she deserves, which is, kind of another thing for me, just the consequences of disrespect, right? Which, in the realm of Greek mythology, what constitutes disrespect is very skewed, very, very skewed in the minds of gods and goddesses. But here, it's it's justified. I think it's justified. They're being little bitch asses to her. So yeah, and you don't F with a postpartum parent, especially a goddess. Okay, so in terms of consequences of disrespect. Another story that I read about is with Leto and Niobe. So Niobe is the granddaughter of Zeus, and she basically brags about her superiority over Leto because she has given birth to 12 children, 6 boys, 6 girls, whereas Leto has only given birth to the 2, her twins. Now, Leto's actions, as a result, I think she might have overreacted a little bit, but essentially, yeah, you don't F with her. You don't underestimate, even though she may come off as kind and loving and modest and proper. Yeah, you don't mess with that. So she essentially had her children kill Niobe's children. So she had Apollo kill all of Niobe's sons, and she had Artemis kill all of Niobe's daughters. The end. A lot of what I think about Leto is, again, there's that devotion, there's that love for her children, and yes, just the kind of more generic associations that are written about her, and her being the goddess of motherhood, and her being just a sweet and gentle goddess if you treat her right. Yeah, so it's that, showing respect versus, showing pride and hubris. So those are the two that I have found most interesting so far in my Greek studies as I'm getting my Greek on, Circe and Leto. And I hope you enjoyed this. I know this is like more of like a talky video. But let me know in the comments below, have you been using the Hellenic Oracle? And in what way have you been using it? Have you also been getting back into studying Greek mythology, or is this maybe your first time diving into Greek mythology? If there are any further insights you have to Circe and Leto, do also share those. I am more than willing to learn as much as I can. Also, hey, if you have the Hellenic Oracle and there is a figure in that deck that you would maybe want me to speak on, I am willing to consider it. I make no promises, certainly, but I will at the very least consider it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So until the next time, much love and take care.